Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. There it goes. Saw a little delay there. I'm really excited for today. I am going to work on something I haven't done before. There's the new preview feature called Source C# Source Generators. I think there's some really interesting use cases for these, and so I kind of want to toy with them and see what we can make this do. A couple things that we're going to dig into is we're going to look at some of there's a blog post explaining it, talking about the new stuff, and there's a sample. We're going to play with the sample. And then I want to build it into Comet and look at how we can use it for MVU. And I think there's some, hey, Luce, welcome. I think there's some interesting things that we can do, especially around the way I pay attention to what needs to update and when. So maybe we should talk a tad bit about the problem that we're going to try and solve. So there's two things. And let me actually don't have Comet loaded. Let me switch screens and let's get Comet loaded. And Comet is loading. Switch to, I'm going to work on Windows today too, which is kind of exciting because I work on Mac a lot. So today is going to be a Windows day. We're going to be using Visual Studio 2019 latest update. I'm not using a preview for this one. We'll just be on the latest update. So if we look at some code though, there's a couple things that we can look at and we can decide what we're going to try and fix. There's two types of generators I want to work on. One is that'll just make things work today without rewriting everything, without reworking how everything works. And that is going to be pretty simple. So there is, why don't I see the interface? Hey, Jaspas, welcome. Oh, yes, sorry. Like I said, I'm on my Windows machine and I don't know what the hotkey is for that. Whoa, wrong one. Don't do that. Yes, I will increase my font size. I'm just going to do it here. Let's go. I agree. It is way too small. Is that good? Do it 200%. Maybe that looks good. Ooh, Android SDK updates. Yes. I just wiped this Windows machine too. So this is a fresh install of Windows and it's freaking out as I'm getting all those UAC pop-ups of it wanting to install things. I just reinstalled Windows like a week ago and I totally forgot to install all my new alert stuff. So all of my little last follows and stuff are out of date because I forgot to install the software that updates those. Sorry. All right. So a couple things that we want to look at. One is I don't see it in here. There's the I read only nonsense. Where did I put that thing? So I don't know. Let's find it. I know how to find it. If we go to binding object, binding, I notify property chain, here it is. I put it in binding object. This interface. So binding works. So let me take a step back again. Let's look at some code before we jump into that. And then we'll explain how that works so we can talk about what we're going to solve. Sorry, didn't think through the right way to present this, but I think I got it. Let's go to button sample. Very simple, button sample. All right, so there's a couple things going on here. Since this is that MVU pattern where it does that model view update, our model is this state. And right now our state is very simple. It's an integer, one thing. Nice and easy. So on this, and hopefully my audio sounds good. I realized on one of the last streams, my gain was too high. So I've turned it down a little. So hopefully it sounds good. If it doesn't, please let me know. And I can tweak some settings because no one wants to listen to that. So how is this different from, what do you mean by C or VM? Not sure I follow. All right. So like a view model, okay, MVU, MVC, MVVM. All right, so MVU is very different because there's a model, there's a view, and then it does this update loop. You'll notice that yes, this is a view, but this is the real view. This is the body. This is what's actually going to be displayed on screen. It's going to be a vertical stack with a button and a text. Now, in other MVU frameworks, you'll notice on button click, they send a message, which sends through this update function, and then the body is built off of that. So this works very similarly. It does that same sort of thing, but we do a lot of that in the background for you. So when you increment the model, we send the message for you. So you're still just updating the model. You don't modify the view itself. You just say, hey, button, increase your count. And when that happens, the count will then say, okay, we need to rerun this body and we need to build this UI. It's a very lightweight thing. Then we diff the tree and then we update the UI based off that new diff. Now, there's some inefficiencies with that. Sure, with just a vertical stack and 2 buttons, that's gonna be really fast to diff. But when you start talking about some of these really complicated UIs, that's gonna get tricky, really tricky. And it's gonna be time consuming. And then you gotta worry about all these extra objects. You're putting more pressure on the garbage collector and things like that. And yes, we will get C# hot reload in Maui. How it's the exact what we'll have is still up in the air. It might be something very similar to Comet. It might be something better. Might be something slightly different, but it is something we're working on. So we will get some C# hot reload in Maui at some point, especially for the MVU stuff. You can't do MVU. I mean, this stuff is built for it. It'd be horrible not to do it. All right, now I've done some optimizations in this, and this causes it causes some confusion with people. They're like, you're not doing MVU. It is, but I also added an extra optimization on top of that. Instead of having to diff the entire tree, I can be smart. And I can say, hey, count is only used for the text, right? The only place we're actually displaying count. So that's the only place that count's used to display UI. So instead of diffing the whole body, I can just re-execute and do a smaller diff and then just update that text. And so that's what Comet does, and I want to make sure we keep that capability going forward as we move to whatever we do with .NET MAUI's MVU. But I want to make this nicer because this is cool. With just a state, it's really, really simple. I just say, hey, state int boom. What if you have this big object? And I think I have a better example of that somewhere. I thought I had a song, something. Song. I knew I had a song somewhere. All right. So songs, which their titles don't change, no big deal. Not the type of thing that we're posture check. Is my posture bad? Wow. I've never seen something like that get used. Aha. All right. How's that? Is my posture better? I'll sit up straighter. All right. So the question is, where is this VStack from? The usings aren't even being used. What do you mean they're not being used? So right here we have a vertical stack that has a button and a text in it. Oh, you're talking about up here? It's just inside a comment. And so since the namespace is comment.samples, it's the same thing. It gets everything from the comment namespace. So it's just not needed because it's get from here. Your app would have a using comment, not mine, because it's comment.sample, which don't name your things comment.whatever, so you don't have to use used namings. That's going to cause a lot of compiler issues or confusion later on. All right, so let's look at that song thing a little bit deeper. And maybe I didn't make song work right. I'm hoping I did. I should have. Yes. So with song, I'm passing the title in and things like that. If we were to edit this song, I still need to know what used for what. If I jump into the view model, or the view, I did use binding object. In this case, I used my magic class called binding object to deal with doing all this stuff for you. And what this does is binding object implements that interface we were just looking at. I notify property red. So if we jump to binding object, we can take a peek inside. So it has I notify property red. Well, I notify property red implements I notify property changed, and it added one additional thing, property red. Now, that's interesting. What does that do? Well, whenever we call get, we call property red and pass the property name in. So we say, hey, this property was used. And so we know when a property was used and when a property was changed. So if we go back to our original button sample, state also has that same thing on it. I now know that this state object was used because I know what values were read out. So I said, oh, while I was building this body, when I was setting the text, I got the value from state. So now I know if that state changes, that's the only thing I need to update is just that text property. And that's all cool, fine, and dandy if you want to use my binding object as your base class. It's cool. Yeah, it works. It's very lightweight because it's just a dictionary underneath, so it doesn't use up memory that it's not going to need. So it's got some little things in there that are pretty nice. But if your data objects are coming from somewhere else, it's not like you're running something through JSON utils or something to get out data objects. It's not going to generate this code for you. You're going to be writing a lot of this code yourself. So let's say you don't want to implement my magic binding object class. You can do the interface yourself, but as we all know, writing iNotify property changed code is not fun. People use generators and things like that, or IL injection with like Foddy. It's just not fun. We don't like doing that. So we don't want to do that when we're doing it for the gets and the sets, do we? No. So there's two things that I want to do with the source code generator. One is let's do a source code generator that is going to fill out iNotify property read and iNotify property changed. Hey, R2, welcome, welcome. So that'll be pretty cool, right? We'll get both of those. Yay, source code generators. But again, what if we can ditch iNotify property read? All right. That's where the more complicated and more fun source code generator is going to be to write. Because I would like to ditch even needing iNotify property read. What if iNotify property changed is enough? Now, we just explained why I have iNotify property read. So I'm not sure if I can ditch it. I'm going to see. My thought process is, what if we go and we dig through this body method? Now, this gets tricky because body can be specified via the attribute, but it can also, do I have an example of another one? It can also be like this. So I'm going to need to be able to find this and this and be able to figure out what is going on inside of there. And not only what's going on inside there, but what's being used. And if I do that first and I can figure out what's being used, wow, that's crazy. This class is 181 days old. That's a long time. Isn't that crazy? All right. Well, that's the last time I touched it. So we can find, in this one, it's going to be really, really simple. I can say count was used. Now, I'm not sure inside the source code generator if I'm going to be able to figure out enough to say it was only used for text or if it was just used in this method. So first goal is just going to be able to say, let's see what was used. All right, count was used. Great, we're going to listen to count changing. And at that point, we can just do the full tree diff and everything should update. And we should be able to full tree diff and it'll work just like every other MVU framework. And we can just say, okay, we're going to pay attention to the count because we know that. But I want to look at something a tad bit more complicated. But that's, like I said, that's not going to do all of our magic data binding. I need to see if we can do it to that level. But we also need to be able to support something like this. This one's pretty simple. It only has two states. So we need to pay attention to reports and is loading. So if is loading is triggered, we always need to do a full diff because it's used to determine what comes back in that body. When reports, if reports get set while is loading is true, we're not going to reload because it never even used reports. So we don't care about reports changing under is loading is true. We just don't because it wasn't used. That's how the current stuff works. So it's not until is loading is set to false that then we'll fall into this case where now we'll use that is loading is to this reports. We'll use that. So this gets a little complicated where we use two different values that switch. And I wonder if I can figure out, or we can write something to kind and figure out what's being used by what and where. Because this thing's tricky. Very, very, very tricky. And there's even a crazier sample that this has its own object and it does lots of things. State.canEdit. If it's editable, make it an edit entry field. If not, just text. But then canEdit is used. But then we also have a click count that we're using and all kinds of crazy stuff. So does using source generators impact or need to consider hot reload things? Yes, it does. So it depends on how we hot reload. With the current Comet hot reload, absolutely. I'm going to need to run that. Yes, I will. So now we have to start talking about things like performance. Right now, our hot reload happens on key press. Can I do whatever we do for the source code generator stuff, make that happen a different way? I don't know. So a couple things we were talking about last night on Discord about this is, can we do something to where it does a big build on, so there's two modes we can do, right? One is where I say, hey, we're going to pay attention. If we figure it out, maybe we can do this to where we know what's being used, even without hooking into a source code generator. So maybe we can run that inside the hot reload stuff as well. But let's just say, okay, we're using state, canEdit, text, and click count. Those are the three state things we're using. So when you're in debug, we're always going to do a full tree diff. Because, well, whenever we hot reload, we're going to do a full tree diff. Because you hot reloaded, and unless we run the source code generator that figures out, if we can even figure out what's being used where, you know what I mean? That gets tricky. So yes. Now, what we can do is say, so we have the source code generators really only run on build, so they won't happen during hot reload. But then we could get those to update, and you'd get the really performant binding stuff on release builds. I don't like release builds and debug builds working very, very differently, but there's some things that we can do. So yes, lots of considerations to do with this stuff. All right. So now the one source code generator that just generates the iNotify property red stuff for you, yes, that will impact hot reload, but we might be able to just make the hot reload stuff for that run inside of the hot reload stuff anyway. So we just generate those, because that should be really easy to generate. This whole heuristic of what was used when and what implements this and what binds this, that stuff gets crazy. Really, 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 really crazy. And hey, thanks for the follow, Ibams Cider Mage. So I'm a tad bit worried about that stuff. Now, that's just with the current approach for hot reload. There's a couple other approaches. Oh, that's a subscribe, not even a follow. Thank you. So there's a couple other approaches to hot reload I'm looking at. What I'm doing right now is a little crazy. So yeah, Updies, yeah, exactly. Similar to like on debug, you don't care about having a slow startup on debug because you're going to be using things like hot reload and things like that. And performance matters on release. So yes, we might be able to do a little bit of slowdown to make hot reload work better. So the hot reload is faster because we can still run these generator stuff. We can force the generator to run on save. So maybe we only hot reload on save, we do the source code generator, and then we ship the update over. That would work. But the Comet hot reload happens as you type. It's instant, no save. So maybe we impose some limitations. I don't know. There's things. And the current way of hot reloading is I just ship C# source code over to the phone, and then the phone recompiles that stuff. I want to change it to where that happens in the IDE. So if that happens in the IDE during that build phase, we can also run the source code generator on that file. So there's some things we can do. There's definitely some things we can do. All right. So let's start playing with the source code generator. Now, I did go and there's an entire blog post on source code generator and oops, wrong hotkey. All right. So there's this blog post and I can paste it into chat. That way everybody has it. I remember my hotkeys. There we go. All right. So that's the blog post that I'm looking at. This one talks about how to create them and talks a lot about how they work and when they're injected. Compilation runs your analyzers, runs your source code generator, does that, compilation resumes. And it's pretty cool. And I did play with it just to make sure it runs. And then I recloned it, and I did just download the zip from a source code repo because there is a repo here that's mentioned in the blog post. Nope, not this one. This one. And it takes you right to the samples. You'll find this inside of the repo. And I'll post that in case you guys are interested. Yeah, you'll find that. It's really simple. I downloaded the whole repo and ran it. It's saying it's pretty easy to hook up, so we're probably going to do a file new and create a new one for us, but let's start by looking at the ones from the samples. So the sample one of the samples is basically exactly what we need, which is really excited for our first problem. So there's this auto notify generator. What this does is it allows you to, inside of your code, create this class like this with this auto notify. And it's freaking out about namespaces because this comes from the DLL that is generated from the generator, which is kind of weird. I'm trying to follow this. It's interesting how this is the attribute and they inject the attribute in. It's kind of cool. Kind of weird. Oh, right. I need to zoom this one. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm used to working on my other machine, which is all set up. Brand new Windows machine set up and all that. Sorry about that. Yes, nice big text. I did it on the website, but not the code. I'm sorry. So this has this little auto notify attribute, and it's saying on these private fields, auto notify these. And this one even says, hey, the property name is count for amount, which is kind of cool. But like I said, this is being injected into the DLL. Check it out, context.addSource auto notify attribute. So this thing doesn't exist yet. It gets added when the source code generator runs. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's interesting. It makes it harder to work for as far as IntelliSense work, but that'll get better over time because right now this is early stages, so there's not a lot of tooling. Debugging this thing is going to be interesting. To do that, we have to actually tell the debugger to pause, and then I'll show you. We'll get to that. All right, so we inject in this auto notify attribute. And our context does all this. This has this thing down here, which has this syntax receiver, which this searches through and finds what we need and then adds those fields to this declaration. So it's saying, hey, go find things that have at least one attribute, and then we're going to add them to this list, and those are the only fields we're going to pay attention to. And then they also have this part right here that actually processing the field, does source append, and actually creates the property. And right now, theirs doesn't match what they need. We need to also add in not just the property change, but we need to add in the property read. So it should be pretty simple to do that. So here they're doing the public partial class. They just create a string builder. They're doing the class name, making it partial. Like this should be pretty straightforward to do the iNotify property read. And yeah, the biggest thing will be adding it in. So let's start by recreating this stuff in Comet. Why the heck not? All right. And I want to start really, really simple on this. So let's do add, what kind of project is this? I just want to make sure I'm doing the same. I think it's just a .NET SDK, standard 2.0, perfect, nice and easy to do. We can do that. And actually, we can do it even better. Let's go to Comet, source, create new folder, Comet. We're going to do that, copy this. Now I am just going to go and snag, not that one, these ones. All right, we're going to grab this and we're going to grab auto notify. Oops, wrong hotkey. Let's copy those and bring them over to here. Just rename this. That way we don't have to recreate it, and hope we do it right. Oh, wasn't ready to open yet. I'm still typing. Source generators, because that will then add the auto includes for us, and we don't have to think about it. So now in our proper repo, we'll say add the existing project and comment source. Done. Yay. All right, we're going to need to, what's complaining about downgrading? Oh, UWP and WPF. I haven't been over here in a while. Let's upgrade platforms. And at some point, we need to port this over to the new Maui repo, .NET Maui repo stuff, to where it uses the inverse stuff, and we're using more of their things, which we'll get to. Why is I'm used to Mac. It shows me the NuGets there, and I can just click update right there. I don't have to go into here. We're going to. All right, select all, update. Do it again here. Yes, I accept. Come on, let me get into this one. Manage NuGet, updates, update. All right, we just updated UWP and WPF. I just don't like it telling me that I downgraded, because, Skia too. Somewhere in here. All right. Manage NuGets. Those nuggets updated. Wow, thank you, MB Crumb. Thanks for the raid. Welcome, welcome. We are just getting the project set up to start working on some source code generators, and we're going to try doing some crazy things in here. We're going to try and push how much we can get these things to do. So hopefully this will be fun. And source code generators are new and cool and sound like fun. All right, just getting all those updated. Accept. Lots of NuGets. Update all those NuGets, everybody. Keep them up to date. All right, so now let's close everything. So we're starting a little bit fresher. Close. All right. Now I want to start with something really, really, really simple. Our current, let's add a new project. Our current sample is pretty big. And since we're doing things with source code generators, I want to do something really small. I'm going to do a .NET Core console app. And let's put this into samples. I'm probably going to delete this thing, but instead of console app, we're going to call this Comet source gen sample. Create. All right, so this is in here. Now what we're going to want to do in order to make these things work with the new source code generator stuff, in the blog post, it says you need to come into here and change this, your C# language. I'm trying to remember where it's at. I know where it's at on a Mac. Where is it at on Windows? I thought is it not on application? It should be under compile, the build stuff. Do we have to do it in the CS project itself? Is there not a UI thing for just upping the version? All right. CS code, let's go edit the CS proj, guys. We're not scared to do that. We can edit CS projects. All right, so I'm just at their sample, open. Oh, I normally have an edit with VS Code. I don't like resetting my machine because I have VS Code. Did I not reinstall VS Code yet? Let me try. I haven't reinstalled VS Code yet. Like I said, brand new. I just reformatted this machine. Step is detected. Oh, I've already got cancel. How many of these do I have running? All right, so let's accept. Now there's proof that I accepted. All right, VS Code. Add open with. Yes, yes, much needed. Use Winget? I've already got it installed. I don't have Winget installed, actually. I have the tools thing, but... All right. I already had the installer downloaded because I wiped it. I didn't wipe my downloads folder because I didn't want to have to re-download everything. And luckily, this little toolbox, I love this thing. Thank you, MB Chrome, for showing this off. I saw it on your stream during the launch, during build, and I'm like, I've got to have it. All right, I now have VS Code installed. Thank you. All right, let's exit that out. I don't like how it doesn't auto go away. Open with code. Thank you. Thank you. All right, because this is what we need. Hey, thanks for the follow, I am Carrot, is we need this Lang version preview. So now we can go to our sample and we can edit that and open with code. Beautiful. And we can copy this. And they're just adding a reference there. And we're going to do that too. Actually, that path's not going to work. So let's add in preview language now. I don't know what this main settings XML is. Because I'm used to working on a Mac and I don't know. I'm not used to doing that. I know you can right click and prop it out. I needed to go check the source file for the other one. So it's just have it. I just use VS Code for that. I always have. On my Mac, VS Code is set as the default editor for all my CS projects, so I just double click on them. Force a habit. I don't know. I don't like the whole unloading and reloading. I'm lazy. I don't know. I have no good answer. No good answer at all. All right. So let's go add the dependency. And this should be, we'll leave it where it's at for now. All right. So let's add a project reference. Source generator and comment, because I want to do things based off the view. You don't? You used to have to like drop it into like a view. Well, it shows how long I've done it. You're right. It just is right there and straight in. I don't know. I have no good answer. No good answer at all. All right, so let's do it in here, but I still have to go check what the other one is, because notice I thought it did it differently. According to the blog post, good night, TCPware. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. Inside of here, it mentioned hooking into them. It mentioned we have to set it on preview, but it also did something about using it. It said that it had to be, okay. So it's just output type equals analyzer. That's what we already had there, so I'll just copy that. Thank you, Sparky. All right, and that's what I was seeing inside that VS Code one, but just making sure. All right, so now we'll just paste that right here. And that should work. You used to have to unload a project in order to edit it. At what version of Visual Studio did that change? Granted, I'm on a Mac most of the time, so things work differently. And yeah, I'll back this up to YouTube as well. Ah, it's a net standard thing. Okay, so it's not that new. I feel better. Makes sense, because you have to edit those things a lot more. Okay, so it's still the old, okay, I feel better. Feel better. I'm not too crazy. What is the hotkey to close everything? Close all. Close all. Okay. Don't save. I don't care about that. All right, so now that we have our new source code project, this should now run that generators. I need to rebind a lot of hotkeys because my hotkeys aren't the same. Because like I said, I'm on Windows. I like that now I have like that hotkey's the same. There's a few that are now getting better. Okay. But like the comment in and out, I hate the commenting in and out. Drives me nuts. All right, so let's start with something new. And let's see what we can get this thing to do. So Oh, it does work in VS and Mac. That's interesting. Didn't know that. I like that more plugins are going to work on both now. So public partial class my model. And what we need to do is, what did inside this auto notify? There's this auto notify attribute. Wrong hotkey. And we're going to have to do auto notify, and it's going to freak out, but it'll get better. It should catch up. All right, so now here we just need to do string foo equals, yeah, string foo, right? Full bar, I think. And so foo will generate, bar will not. I may have to restart Visual Studio after doing that. I saw some things in the blog post saying you may need to. Hey, Uzi Laguarama. Oh, I cannot say that. Sorry. Uzi Laguamares? I tried. I'm sorry. Failed. But thanks for the follow. All right, so let's go into this source code generator. And hey, Jessipas, thanks for the follow as well. Oh, that was a subscription. Thank you for the subscription. I need to pay attention to the little icon thing. Pay more attention. So, from Brazil. Exciting. What part? Hey, Intelpa, thank you for the follow. Let's run this and see if this works. Now, if this works, this should compile. If it didn't work, it's not going to compile because those classes don't exist. But guess what, guys? It compiled. That means we should be able to find that new source code that was generated. Compiling. Oh, okay. On Mac. Oh, no, there is open containing folder. Yes. I'm guessing it'll be in the object folder. Where does it put that thing? I should be able to see. Anyone know where that source code goes? Is it in some random temp folder that I can't find? It's got to be there somewhere. Do I share with Skype? Yes, I want to share this DLL with Skype. Thank you. I used to have .peek installed. I don't think I do right now. But I have it downloaded. My download folder is still clear. So let's jump into the .peek and let's inspect that DLL. Or not. Why can't it run that from its own installer? One error occurred. All right. Let's just go download .peek really quick. I like .peek. It's pretty good. It's a good decompiler. Shows you all kinds of fun stuff. Download. Oh, I didn't click on search. Download. And it's free, guys. So, all right. .peek. That's got a new number. We're going to run this. I am only running .peek. And sure, we'll let it integrate with Visual Studio. It's probably gonna make me need to restart it. I love .peek. I love anything that lets me see into the DLLs. It makes sense. Visual Studio for Mac used to have that built in, and then they removed it, which made me really sad because it was all powered by Cecil and it just worked. So let's add that because I want to look and see what's going on. I wonder if inside of here, don't tell me about collections. Just let me look for source. I wonder if the blog post mentions where the source will go. All right, when generating source files, doesn't say. Should I know? Is it doing it purely in memory? That is actually pretty clever. Just writing it all into a temp folder. All right, so let's run .peek, and it's running on the wrong monitor. I'll bring it over as soon as it's launched enough to do so. Oh, never mind, don't need to wait. And then it goes back to the other monitor. Come on! Let me grab you. Oh, it's making me accept. Read the entire document. I am a fast reader. All right. Come on, let me drag the window. Brutal. All right, so now we're just gonna, oops, don't want to run that. We're just gonna drag this into here. And we should now have auto notify exists. I don't like that it's its own attribute because now that attribute's gonna be compiled in a bunch of times. When we do it from Comet, we won't have that because we'll throw it into our Comet stuff. Now our sample, my model, has a foo and bar stayed how it was. That's perfect. I like it. And it has property changed and then it gets done. So let's go modify that now. And let's do property red. Should be easy. All right. So if we go into our source code generator, we should now do anything with auto notify. Does it add using system namespace? Nope, don't mess with that. We'll leave that where it is. I wonder if, oh, if they fully qualify it, it'll be fine. If the class does not already implement that, add it. Okay. And we'll want to do the same thing. Where's this iSymbol notify come from? This is called one other place. All right, so for each of these, it's declared once in here. All right, and var, I'm just curious if this will work. We're gonna have to do some debugging. All right, so we'll do notify red. And this equals compilation dot get type by metadata name. And I think I put mine in the same namespace. I don't remember. No, I didn't. It's just inside a comment. All right. So nice and easy. Oops, I did not copy. I used the wrong hotkey. All right, now I want to debug this thing. And you can't debug these things. Well, not by default. But if we do debugger and add in system.diagnostics.break. No, it's launch, right? Launch. This will launch the debugger. All right, so now when that runs, and let's actually hook this up a tad bit more than that. Let's also go into here and say iNotify symbol. We're gonna do one more of these. And we're gonna say notify red symbol. So now we can do the same type of check. Notify red. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so now let's copy and paste that. If it by red symbol. Public event. It is the same thing, except it's pretty red. Actually, I'm going to copy and paste because I have no autocomplete there. But I was right. Copy property red. All right, and I'm also going to do using comment. Let's just add that in there. That will make our lives a little bit easier. All right, so now we've added property red, we've added property changed. We can process these symbols. So now we can just do copy and paste this and property should be it. All right, let's run it. I wonder if I have to build things differently. Why aren't we getting the pop-up? We should get a pop-up from Visual Studio asking us how we want to attach. That did not come, and the source code generator did not run. So let's build first the generator. Let's build that, and then we'll run this again. Never got that pop-up. Something's wrong. What did I do? Let's start by removing that debug thing. I wonder if it's breaking before that, or if something's breaking, or if there's a way to get an output that's telling me what's breaking. Nothing in there. Let's clean this too. Why not? Can't hurt. Let's run it. Something's happening. So you have to restart every time? You kidding? Oh, that is painful. Wow. All right. Let's try it. Thank you for that tip. Whew. That's scary. Let's get this generator right. Man, I wanted to debug and play with it. What's a debugger matter if you have to restart every time? That is fun. Oh, actually, it might have been working. My pop-up was on the other window. I've got a bunch of I've got one of these, so hey, debugger launch. All right. I notify symbol red. It got it. It was just going to the other window. And it did it again. Well, that's exciting. Let's see what happens there. All right. It's doing it a few times. This might work. This might work. Why did my mouse sharing stop working? Getting pings on my other machine. I can't answer them. All right, so let's try changing something. Actually, let's go check what just got generated. All right, so let's go to the bin folder. Let's copy this in this time. Force it to update. Now check it out. We have property red. And what's our foo do? Now it implements the red for us automatically without us having to do a bunch of nonsense. I like that. I like that a lot. Hey, Honey Pop, welcome, welcome. That is way better. I need to see if I can fix my mouse sharing stuff, because that... I'm using Share Mouse, which up until today has been super stable. It crashes once in a while, but I've never had connection issues like this. All right, it's working. It's on the Mac side, because as soon as I quit my Mac one and restart it, it starts working on Windows. All right, so that's really fun. Um, what else? Okay, I'm really happy with that. Now, I want to do a couple extra optimizations, me and my optimizations. So, where we build in this binding object, we can do something clever. So, my binding object is smart. It actually doesn't need, and the magic binding actually doesn't use that. Wait, okay. So if I inject strings as code, you lose possible compile errors. I had Synergy and I use Synergy 1, I use Synergy 2, and copy and paste just never works. Share mouse lets me copy and paste and my clipboard syncs, and Synergy's never done that properly, which is something I do a lot. So drove me nuts. I've tried lots of different ones. So if I inject string as code, you lose the possible compile errors. I shouldn't lose compile errors because it still has to be compiled. So I'm not sure I follow. You're talking about all of this? Because this still has to get compiled. I'll get a compile error, so let's just test this. All right. And let's remove the debug. And we'll see if I have to restart Visual Studio. I'm going to... I might have to. Oh, stop it. Build. Let's run the source gen again. Because this should not build and run. Because... Okay, let's restart Visual Studio. As I was told that DLLs are cached. It didn't do the debug though. Like that does bring a good question. What happens if source code generators generate bad code? It's bound to happen. I'm gonna mess up writing my code generators because that's me. Gonna do it. So how do we handle those? All right, so let's try this again. It built. Let's go check the DLL that was compiled though. Because I would rather have a build failure. No, I definitely think that we can get Xamarin and the .NET MAUI stuff super productive. I feel that I'm that way with Comet, minus the bugs of Comet. And switching, most of the bugs in Comet are layout and handlers. And when we switch to the common renderers, all that goes away. And I can focus on just what makes MVU performant. So absolutely, we'll get to our productivity level is going to be awesome. Doing things like this will help. But this is most curious. So yeah, a lot of my time and work right now is doing things to make things more performant. Why did that bad code? Let's just do it differently. Oops, wrong hotkey. I just started my screen recording. Oh, I can't undo that because I restarted Visual Studio. So let's put gibberish elsewhere. Maybe it's something to do with that if. Okay, that will blow up, or should. And then let's also change a line of code here. And let's try running that. Yeah. Oh, hey, we got build errors, guys. Hey, and this is showing us the source code file. Well, I'd hope it would. Oh, come on. Well, I got my source code error, so something worked. Let's edit this and try building again. It worked that time. So I didn't have to restart either. Let's bring the debugger back and just to sanity check this. I'm glad I'm not having to restart every time. I did not get the debugger that time though. Maybe since it knows this is cached, that file hasn't changed. It's a caching issue. It is. It's a caching issue. You don't have to restart every time. You just need to change a source file so that generator will run again. We debugged it. We figured it out. All right, that's exciting. That's the problem. It makes sense. Why would it run the generator every single time if it doesn't have to? So, Honey Pop, are you talking about... I'm trying to remember the name. It's the one that David Orton is working on. I worked on it with him a little bit. It was the big control gallery or something. We had Marianne on helping us with the UI, and they were... I can't remember the name of it. I don't remember. That thing, though. I think that's what you're talking about. All right. So even though the source generator, the generator changed, there should be a bug on that, because if the generator changes, it should regenerate, not just the code. But that's only the few of us who actually write these, not the world. All right, so now that that's working, let's do some extra optimizations. So, binding object. My binding object is smart. Oh, are you talking about the old... The thing that Apple wouldn't let us update anymore? That thing. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's all right. We'll get to a better place. Xamarin Live something. I don't remember what it's called. We have too many names of things. This, we're getting to where .NET MAUI will be able to do all that anyway, and so you'll be able to do it in any app, and this won't be able to. Yeah, I think it was Live Reload. Live Reload. All right, so we're going to add a new interface. Auto. Now this thing is not going to have anything in it. It's just a check. All right, so now I want to say this is going to be, oh, come on. Did I copy that or cut that? All right, now what we do is inside of our binding, if I find all references of this, inside of our binding stuff, I do checks in here, and if things are binding things, I do things differently. State manager. So right now, I only hook into bind it if it's not a binding object, and now I can change this to auto implemented. If no, that's not. There's got to be somewhere else I hook into those. Let's find all of these. Right here. Okay, so if it's not that, we hook in. These are the two I'm looking for. All right, so now swapping those out, if it's auto-implemented, we're doing it for you. Don't need to hook into the events because we can bypass events. It's just more performant. All right, and now what I do is inside the binding object, this is what I do. Call property changed. Now, do I use that value? I'm actually curious if I do. Oh, that's the object itself? Yeah, hot restart is not XAML. Hot restart works for anything. That's the iOS stuff. Hot reload right now is only XAML or the Comet experiment. But hot restart does not require XAML. It works in C# just fine. All right, so when this thing invokes, that should be easy to do. We can just do value. Perfect. We're just going to copy this. And we're going to put this into our auto notify generator. So now when we do our gets and sets, we're also how does this work? All right, I think that's right. And now we're doing the same thing for red. Except it doesn't have a value. All right, let's hope that compiles. Yeah, hot restart is iOS only. A lot of the things that we're doing in hot restart and to make that faster, that inner dev loop, that's coming to our other products. It's only on Windows. Why is Windows iOS dev faster on device than it is on a Mac? It's dumb. We're fixing that. So you'll see that coming to more places. And eventually you'll see something like Expo. Maybe not exactly like Expo. Apple doesn't allow that, but we can still do things with hot restart. So I don't know why they're picky about what language you use. Oh wait, I need to change the source code. All right, so let's save that. Their by rules says it only works for like not by rules, but if you look through the ridiculously long list, it says the only thing that stuff can work for is JavaScript. Why they specifically say that, I don't know. Oh, actually it is running the generator because this popped up. All right, debugger, which we probably can remove the debugger. Aha! State manager, is that private? I wish I could double click on those and go into that. Or if I can find that. Search. Okay, they don't exist on disk? Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's fix this in our binding object. Public static internal. So this will allow us to do that optimization. So now should work. Oh, let's remove the debugging because I'm already debugging that every time. We're going to want to add debugging when we do the more complex one. Yeah, it should be public static. I was lazy. I'll fix it because I agree that's ugly. Thank you for calling me out on being lazy. It's all the same. It works either way, but I agree. Much clearer. Yeah, it works either way. Order doesn't matter. But I should make it look nicer. All right, well, that looks like it's working. I actually don't like the mod. I only like it for specific ones. I have an editor config. I just didn't tell it to auto apply the stuff. And it doesn't fix order as well. But I actually don't like private identifiers. I like it being explicit because I'm weird like that. It's my time on the mono stuff. All right, so let's refresh this puppy. So now we call the state manager directly. And by calling the state manager directly, we can bypass. Now we're injecting comment code into this by doing that. But we already are by adding the interface. But this is an awesome, awesome thing. Oh, wait, we didn't add in. We did not do this right. Let's also, we're not going to get that because we didn't add this in. So we need to jump into here. Actually, okay, so that does that. Does a comma work? I'm really confused. Oh, I'm inside of that. Sorry, here. All right. Notify simple red dot to display string. All right. Yeah, I'm not against it about having that in the order in that matter. Oh man, everything in its own file. Those were the days. I do not follow that rule at all. Let's actually change really quick. Compile this one last time, make sure that worked. Oh, did it auto update? Maybe it did. No, it didn't. Or my code didn't work. Or the generator didn't run. Something didn't happen. Because now it should have the 2. Run everything. It just did some refresh. Why are we not getting... Be honest, we only need this one. Because it implements both. Actually, let's make that lowercase because I have no idea what that generator will do. All right, chat's going crazy. You need to pay attention. Oh, I agree. I agree. I don't like how, because spacing matters. All right, so let's see if that did it. Hey guys, is there? Why is that not updating? Public partial. I notify property red. Did I pass the wrong thing in there? Okay. I notify property red. And it gets passed in. All right, let's turn our debugging back on and let's see what's happening because this is driving me insane. Oh, wrong hotkey. Yeah, putting things in string resources, those aren't always as clean. I mean, you kind of want to see sometimes what's going on, unless you're localizing. Then it's, yeah. String resources are amazing then. All right. I notify property red. Comment, I notify property red. I notify property red. Gotta be something cached. It's cached. It was this. It was the tool. Our stuff was working. That's all right. But I don't want only I notify property red. I need my other one as well. I need our magic one saying we auto implemented. Okay, and I copy and paste because my spelling's atrocious and I don't want to spell it wrong. Especially with oh, come on. All right, so we're going to throw that puppy in there. And get this in there. And let's now pop that in after the red. All right. I don't think it can use GPU for compiling. Doing stuff on the GPU is a specialty task and takes a lot of extra work and thought process to do things right. And it's only really good at doing certain things, so. Oh, wait. All right, so now it should have that I auto notify. And so now we know not to hook into those events. So that's an awesome, awesome optimization we just did. Because now we don't have memory leaks. Oh, I just have to build the world. Didn't mean to do that. We still have some mismatches. All right, once that build's done, we'll try running it again. Most of the compiling stuff really comes down to just being smarter and caching properly. So I have passed that. I'm not the guy to talk to about compiler optimizations. I mean, you can also do things on multiple cores. A lot of things don't have to all be done on the same core. So fanning out's huge. So I don't know how much this fans out. All right, so that built. I'm going to close .peak. And it's going to the wrong window. It's going to go back again, I bet. Because why wouldn't it? Hey, it stayed this time. It's getting smarter. All right, so let's make sure it refreshes. Oh, wait, we have 2 of them. Check this thing out. Why didn't it do our auto thing? Make sure the generator runs. Takes up to 5 minutes for both. Now, is that device builds or is that simulator builds? Device builds are always going to be slower. So to do device builds, especially iOS, it's going to be a lot slower due to the AOT that has to be done to run it on device. You can, if it's for debug builds on device, make sure you turn on the interpreter. Doing that will make your builds way faster, way faster. So try that. stupid thing. Give me my stuff. Your app's going to run slower. Unless you're doing like lots of really complex things, you're not going to notice the speed hit, but a lot faster. That's why, yeah, turn on fast deploy. Jonathan Peppers have done a ton of work to make sure Android's getting faster for incremental builds, but turn on, yeah, the interpreter on iOS. That's how hot restart is so fast. Well, one of the things. Got a few things up its sleeve, but that's one of them. Yeah, it really doesn't. He's done an insane amount of work. Why is this not working though? Let's save this. Let's delete hey guys, or we'll just comment it out. With the best hotkey ever. Who wants to hit three keys to do that? Oh, I'm an idiot. It's popping up on the wrong window and I don't see it. It's white on white. Let me change what's over here. Cancel. Let me turn off the debugger stuff so it'll just run. And then it'll probably update my code each time instead of waiting on me and some window I don't see because it was white on white out the corner of my eye. It worked! It worked! So the build should be smart about doing not having to do all the images each time. It should be smart. But yeah. All right. So now using this model, it'll be nice and smart. Command line might be building. It might be. This isn't too painful. It's the debugger and me messing myself up. So I can't blame anybody but myself for that. It just is what it is. When I told it to wait for a debug connection and I didn't let the connect to the debugger and I'm complaining it didn't work, whose fault is that? Not yours. All right, so step one, complete. We can now have nice fancy little things like this. I like it. I like it. And now, since this references comment, var view equals new text, and let's give ourselves our little my model. Hey, thanks for the follow, Delvey developer. All right, so new model. Now we'll do inside of here. Oop, hit insert. Turn that off. Model dot foo, because that was our string, right? No semicolon there. But hey, it even auto-completed, guys. That is really, really exciting. I need a semicolon here. And that should be super fast. I like it. All right, I'm going to AFK for 2 seconds, and then let's start working on... Actually, let's branch this code before I step away. And I don't think that's not smart to put in a code in a branch. Comments, yes. But that is actually pretty sweet. I like it. All right, so I'm going to AFK for like 2 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, code's committed. That branch is actually pushed to the public comment branch, so you guys can jump on there and play with it. Yeah, that's the hard thing about us doing things in preview. Not everyone can actually use it for a while. It's just the nature of the beast. Got to be public. I mean, and real supported. So our goal is to get this out all next year. You'll see me working on lots of these parts of it to try and get it to the state to where you can use it, which is really exciting. But it takes time. Just does. All right. Where are we at? We have a model. It's doing the auto generating. Let's now play with some better auto generation stuff. Let's do the tricky crap. And I have no idea how to do this, so we are going to figure this out together. All right, so what we'll do is we're going to start by, we have our source gen, and we have our auto notify generator. What are some of the other samples they gave us? We can close that. We don't need that one. Don't save. So what's this hello world? I just want to see what they're looking for. Oh, this actually generates the whole hello world. That's pretty cool. All right. Nice. Now, what's this XML settings generator? What's it do? All right, so it creates this partial class XML settings. Yes, build the AI to do it. I am still not very good at any of the AI stuff. I really need to spend some time and learn it and get good at it. Actually, I just was thinking, not that one. I want to. So what we need to do is, this is where I was talking about. I just remember the thing I'm missing. Stream labels, I think. Yeah, well, it's what I haven't installed yet. All right. So what we need to do is we need to be able to process all these files. What are they searching for in here? Nothing. All right. Oh, which one did it? This one shows how to get additional files. Okay. Using the context, get additional files that end in .xaml .settings. Okay. That's interesting. Oh, right. Oh, I don't have stream labels installed. Okay, so yeah. Yes, I will upload this to YouTube when I'm done. It'll be up tomorrow, most likely. Sometimes it takes me a day or so longer. It's also available on Twitch for like 3 months, but I will upload it to YouTube as well. So if you follow on YouTube, subscribe, whatever it is there, it'll notify you when I upload it. So, okay. Well, that's cool. That's not what we need at all. The closest to what we need is actually this auto notify. My shirt, yes. This is a good one. It's an old one, but I like this one. I actually have a few of these still rolled up, perfectly brand new, never used. I have a few of my old shirts like that that are just great ones that I worry about. I'll never get again. And I have the best thing. You want to talk about fun things? Oh yes, I'm totally wearing pajama pants. I didn't think about that. Heck yeah, I'm wearing pajama pants. Comfy. I have a bag of really old shirts, including G Music shirts. Oh yeah, G Music shirts. and very, very old Xamarin shirts. Like really old Xamarin shirts with the ugly Zamagon. Oh yeah, that beauty. Focus, not on me. There it goes. I know. Isn't that logo great? Vinicius designed it and loves it. Oh, and not only that, I have the big ones. Yes, I've got a bag of these. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Nat was like, "That logo is ugly. We can't give these out." And he's like, "We should just give them to the homeless people in San Francisco." And then he's like, "But then people are gonna see them in our logos, and we can't have that. That logo's horrible." So I ended up with a bunch of them somehow. I was like, "All right, I'll take them." Just forgot I was wearing pajama pants and showing that off. Normally, I switch to shorts when I'm live streaming because my office gets hot, but I did not today because I got to close all the windows and all that. All right, so let's work on this and build something. Let's get something working. Exactly. You can see where I stack up in the rankings. And last time I saw Vinicius, I made sure to bring one of those shirts. I pulled one out of my bag to wear one, a nice fresh one for Vinicius, since he loves that logo so much that he designed. All right. So what this does is this actually processes the class and finds anything with that field declaration. I wonder what's in this node. Let's just run it. Let's change this code a tad. Oh, wrong one. Let's go here. Let's comment this out. Because there's two things we need to look for. We need to... Why is my... I don't have IntelliCode installed. Just reinstalled everything. Manage extensions. I can never install IntelliCode. Oh, it did auto-install it. Why is it not working better? All right. Why am I not getting Intellis? Oh. What is there to do? By enabling previews, I click OK. Enabled? Do I have to go through and enable them all? What's the default? Oh, or do I need to... There's an IntelliCode thing somewhere to bring up the view where you tell it to train your models. I don't know where that's at. I hate redoing my machine. It's always like, why are all my settings not right? I can't find that thing either. Right click. Maybe under there. I don't know. Okay, actually, we'll just do, instead of doing curly braces, new, yeah, I'm not getting anything I want. Yeah, I don't want to wait for a gold bar. I just want it to work. I love IntelliCode. That's my favorite thing about being on Windows is I get IntelliCode again. All right, it makes up for my messing up hotkeys because it fixes things most of the time. So new text. Oh, I don't need to do state. If I just do we'll just do this. I just want to see if we can. And then we'll do new button. Nope. New button, buffer, button. See, this is where IntelliCode would have fixed it. Oh, and I did ZStack. I want a VStack. All right. Increment that value. And that should be semicolon. So now when we look through this, it's only going to, it's not going to find anything or it's not going to pass anything on. But I want to debug and see what happens. Now, I'm not going to complain that it's not working because I don't have my debugger. I'm going to pay attention this time. Let's put a breakpoint here. There's not much for it to find. All right, pop-up's going to come to the wrong screen. And it did. All right. So debugger broke. Let's press play. What's coming in here? All right. So compilation, it's using namespace. So it's the whole thing. And it is a compilation unit syntax. So does this fire, if I press next, does it call this through each parts of the node? So this is going to be the root, right? And if I press play again, it's going to be a specific, it's the using. So now we're going to loop through each using, which there's 2 or 3 of. All right, and then next is auto, that's our last using. So now let's talk about auto notify, and I don't know what that is. Press play one more time. All right, so now we're on that code, or the comment. Oh no, it's still in namespace. Okay, so now we're going into the namespace. When it's after the namespace, qualified name, makes sense. And then after that, identifier name is comment. Let's put this side by side so we can see where we're at. Yeah, it was part of the using. Compilation? Maybe. Compilation, compilation. I don't know what I said. And now that you've asked me, I don't know what I would normally say. It's funny how your brain works that way. Compilation. I think that's what I'd say. I say the weird things all the time. It's gonna happen. All right. So at this point, we are at Comet. So is it going to do comment and then source gen sample? It's breaking it apart. Okay. So now we should be at our comment. Oh no, it's going to jump straight down to the my view. All right. So now that we're at a view, this is a class declaration. So from a class declaration, I should be able to say find all classes that subclass view, because that's what we need to worry about. we're actually gonna, let me copy that, undo this. I want it at the bottom so we don't mess up with line numbers and debugging. All right, so I'm gonna press continue again. No. Oh, come on. It's fine. Oh, I need to save. Stupid thing. All right, let's try that again. Oh, and it's not going to go this time because we didn't make any changes. All right. And we were so far in. What is it, F5? Okay, next is the class. Okay, we're now back to where we were. So we have our class declaration, which is the next thing we're interested in. Now inside of here, the base is the view, okay? That's what we'd expect. Then simple base type is view, okay? Identifier is view. All right, states. So we're going to want to look for all the field declaration stuff, which is already there. So I don't need to make a note of that because we're going to look for, wait, which style did I do? Oh, it's right here. I did new body. So we want to find what that body is. And then we're going to try a different one with a separate syntax. Oops, not F6. I need F5. Wrong one. Okay. All right. So variable. That would be considered a okay, that should be fine. Okay, continue. So what's C# lab? I just want to see what's going to come out of this thing so I can play with the syntax tree and then figure out how to tell it to do some fancy parsing. All right. Hey, link. Wrong window. Let me bring that over to here. All right, we're going to bring this in. Oh, so this is going to show me the same exact crap, huh? If this shows me the same stuff, that's pretty cool. That's fine. I don't care how to notify can't be found. Awesome. And it even breaks it down to what it is. All right, class declaration. So method declaration with an attribute. So that's what we need to look for. Let's stop this. All right. So let's make some notes in here. We need to find all class and let's drop that way the crap down. That's pretty cool. That's exciting. All right. So we're going to find all the things that have view. Oh, why am I doing this in this auto notifier one? We're going to need to move this. We'll reset it. Good thing we used get and committed. All right, so we're going to go find all the class declarations that subclass view. After that, we need to jump in and find all method declarations. That have an attribute, because we're going to look for that body attribute. We should be able to use this to ditch some reflection as well. Because right now we use reflection at runtime to go find that body attribute. But now we're just going to be able to say, hey, it's there. Which I like. All right. Oh. Just put some extra notes in there. After that, once we find that body, All right. So if it's an expression body, it's going to work differently. There's all the, oh, here's the expression. All right, so then we'll check that. Yes, I am. Why wouldn't I? That's how I roll. Let's kill my baby. I'm all for that. So we started out by implementing iNotify property read, but now let's kill it. If we can kill it, I'm all for that. All right. Let's look how this thing works. Yeah, I'm all for killing stuff off. I want it, my goal and kind of what I do is I try to ignore rules about what's right and what we should do with programming. My end goal is always to make you, the developer, as productive as possible without making you jump through hoops. That's my goal. It always is. I just want to simplify things to the point to where it just works and you don't even have to think about it. It just does what you would want it to do in most cases. And while still giving you the power to explicitly tell it what you want it to do on top of that. So you can always override things or do things differently than what I thought you wanted. And so, yeah, I have no problem doing things like adding something to make it to where I can do things that don't. Like adding iNotify property read allows to do bindings without you telling me about bindings. It's really sweet. And especially once we do this auto notify generator, it's not hard for you to do that. You just throw a couple attributes on there, boom, you now get magic data binding without you even having to think about it. You don't have to expressively say, I'm binding. I just do it for you. But if I can do something to ditch that and bind for you without needing to know, and without you having to edit your code at all, now that's even better. So, and this might not work at all. This might fall down. We might lose. I know for a fact we can make this work to where we always do a tree diff. But a tree diff's not good enough. We need to move past a tree diff a lot of times so we can get that performance. All right. So sometimes this is going to be an expression body, which, okay. All right. We're going to need to change this code to see what it looks like if it's not an expression body. And if it is an expression body, new, there's an election. Let's go look at the object creation. All right, so we get an argument in there. Yeah, I don't like the way that Foddy does it. I don't like messing with IL. Doing IL generation is definitely something that I can do, but I prefer not to do IL manipulation. I'd rather inject source code. It's nicer in my opinion. And then it's just, yeah, I don't know. It just seems dirty editing IL. So I try not to do that. There's some really cool things we can do by editing IL though. So not against it. I will do interesting things to make you guys more performant. Okay, open parentheses, body, interpolate string. Interpolation, expression identifier, field, operation field reference. So what is that called in here? Is this called a operation? Yeah, I think this can replace a lot of things with Foddy. Like I said, we've already got the auto notify and auto notify property read. So let's see what's in here. Operation. Null checks are not needed anymore. You have question marks. My own 2 cents on that. All right. How do we find out? So, why is IntelliSense not working? I'm just wondering how to find what this thing is. It's an operation, but what's the class going to be for that syntax node? And this is in, so I was trying to check what this is at, so. Hey, there it goes. All right. There's operation kind. Okay. But what? Because these all end in syntax, so. So syntax annotation, it's a syntax node, we know that. But if we scroll down, we should see. Really? It's not going to show us all of them that start or have syntax in it at all? Oops. All right, any thoughts? Because I need to find this operation. I need to find, maybe we can find anything that's a field reference. What's, oops, insert, There's nothing for like a field reference. Well, I don't want to catch a field declaration. I want to see every time a field is used, but it might not always be a field. What if this thing gets tricky? Okay, so this is one way of specifying the body. I mean, this is what you were doing, I believe, as well. Object. And then body equals, right? That's the thing is, so I want to go through and let's build out all the ones I think everyone's going to use, see if I can capture them all, and then let's see what that creates. Because that's perfectly valid. Like, that is very valid. So I need to be able to find both of these, both instances of this. And I mean, this is it using it as a state. We can also do, or read only string foo. That's valid, and that will work and populate automatically inside a comment. It can take care of that. So, yeah, there's lots that we got to handle. And this working as, yeah, as an expression is going to work different if it's an actual method body, I think. So I'm going to have to process these syntax trees and find out what all those things work. So maybe we're going to have to debug and say, let's say if syntax node is md.body. So that might get us closer, and then we can know when to start stepping through. All right, so we're at the body, which doesn't have a body apparently. Because as an expression body, not a body. So we're gonna have to check if it has either or. So the expression body under expression has initializer syntax. This is gonna suck digging through this. Expressions has two of them. So object creation expression syntax. This is actually fast, just debugging through like this. Now we go to the arguments list. This thing is crazy. All right, expression body. Hey, both work. Content, all right. This is what we care about, interpolation. Does that line up with what we were seeing here? It never showed us, so we need to find expression somewhere in there. Now that I canceled it, we get to dig through again. And sorry, this is probably really small. That's a Visuals Tree Explorer. Let's check that link out. All right, so how do I open that? View. Other windows. Syntax tree. I don't see it. Do I need to install something to get that? I'm not just being blind, am I? Let me bring this over to this window. All right, so this is, no, I copied the wrong, no, that's right. Did not mean it. Okay, so view, other windows. That looks really, really nice. Oh, installation instructions. All right, so it's saying we need to Visual Studio extension. I thought I had that installed. No, I didn't want to uncheck that. Check the box for compiler platform SDK. Click on the open individual components. And GDLM. All right. And I have that compiler. Okay. Modify 4 megs. Should take forever. All right, so now we're gonna have to close all of our Visual Studios because how it works. Or all of our instances of Visual Studio, which is right. Retry. Oh, nope, I still have more open. Should all be closed now. Oh, nope, I had one more window on the other screen. Close that. All right, thank you guys. This is awesome. I enjoy the help. You guys helping me find some of the stuff and work through it. Can is empty. Move it so I don't keep nursing it. All right, so let's launch it. Let's jump back in. We were in Comet. It's really nice finding all this new cool stuff. Other windows. Come on, let me. Are you done? Are you done, Visual Studio? Syntax tree visualizer. See what this puppy can do. So I shouldn't even have to debug. I should just be able to see it. How do I tell it? Okay. It is not showing my currently active one. I know it's stuck because the debugger breakpoint. Trying to get past that right now. The debugger pop-up is locked. I can't tell it to connect. And I can't even drag the window over to show. It is locked. Well, that's fun. All right, let's see if we can fix this. All right, we're gonna be force quitting Visual Studio. Goodbye, Visual Studio. I didn't make sure I don't force quit OBS though. That'd be fun. Visual Studio, you know you want to do it. It's busy reporting the problem. Well, trying to. I like how on Mac you can search through this and it filters because it has a little search box. Windows team really needs to add that. Because when you know exactly what you're looking for, sure, I can sort it, but I need to remember to use. Yes, that toolbox thing is awesome. I know! Why is there not a search bar there? Still, no search bar. Still. All right, so let's try this view syntax. Maybe I need to wait until Visual Studio is fully primed. Yeah, the video is nice and clear, Pierce. It's good. Which video? Are you talking about my new camera? Do you know what the best part is? This is the wrong lens. My good lens never shipped. I ordered a month ago off Amazon, still hadn't shipped, so I canceled that, eBayed it, and it shipped the same day. But now I gotta wait for it to show up. So I'm gonna get the nice Sigma 16 millimeter 1.4 lens, and it should give a nice, better wide angle. It's supposed to look amazing. It's supposed to give better bokeh. So we'll see. I know, I'm excited. I've been spending way too much money on this nonsense though, but it's been fun. All right, build's happening, is doing something in the background. I'm just gonna press continue. Don't lock up. Oh, why are you doing it again? I didn't even build. So that's kind of cool. It's running the source code generator in the background for me. Except it opened. Yeah, stop debugging. Don't save. So that's kind of cool. Now let's see if we can get this view source code generator thing to work. Or the, not source code, the syntax visualizer. So I am using an A6600, one of the Sonys. It's really nice. And I finally remounted it. So I just got one of the Elgato multi-mounts because when I did it for build, it was like way back there and I had to like zoom it in. But now it's actually sitting on my monitor because I got the multi-mount with a nice angle. It's awesome. I should tweet the new setup and get an image of it. Okay. Hey, I clicked on that file and it did it. Ooh. Okay, and you can click on a file. Oh, I like this. All right. So it's just going to be, whereas what's this? So let's see if I can find all identifier name syntax. Now, can I do it? So since this syntax tree just steps through, right, each line, so it does the thing, and then it goes line by line after that inside of it. I wonder when I'm going to know when it's done with that body. So let's do this. Let's just add all these things in here. And then we're going to do is identifier name syntax. And we should be able to check what their parents are and actually find. This could be awesome, guys. This might be really easy to do what I want. I'm liking this. All right. Oops. All right. Now we're not going to have breakpoints in here anymore. All right. So at some point, let me close this. Give us more room. So at some point, find references. Wherever that's going. All right, let's put a breakpoint right here. And we may need to edit program to make this regen. Still trying to figure out what causes the regen. Oh, I need to go Click OK. Uh-oh. Something's happening. I don't know what that pop-up is. Oh, come on. It got an exception and it wants to do it in a new instance. Just one of you connect. Connect! Connect! It's gonna work. It's gotta work. It's working. Continue. Continue. If I press continue enough. Okay, I don't want the syntax visualizer here. All right, so now we can go to receiver. Use names. Wow. All right. So identifier name comes up a lot. The only one we care about is count name. So and of course my model. These have a parent on them. So I'm probably going to need to do a, hey, this is something interesting. Care about this. Don't care about this. So we need to do something that keeps track of, just a generic list isn't going to be enough. We're going to need to go through, I wonder how we tie this back to the exact object though. Having that syntax tree is awesome. So if we go back to, oh, hot reload's unavailable for the syntax tree. Thank you for telling me that. Yes, stop debugging. No, don't save. All right. So, namespace, class declaration. So we need to make sure. What about nested classes? Oh, this stuff gets complicated. It's really easy the way I'm doing it now because I just do it at runtime and I say execute, tell me what was used. Start, stop, know what was used. Really, really, really easy. And then I even have an object that it's tied to. So right now, I love how this works. So we have an object creation expression. I wonder if at runtime there's any way to tie that object expression creation to the actual object. I do know indexes. So I wonder with source code. Hey, Mewtwo, welcome. I am working on a source code generator, trying to do some complex nonsense to figure out how to do magic data binding. Not at runtime, but at compile time. So I'm trying to figure out how to look through the source code analyzer stuff to where it figures out the context of the code, and then we tie that to runtime objects. Now, I'm wondering if there's anything we could do with this code generator to where we give things an identifier. But I don't know how we do that at this level. I just wonder if there's something we can do to tie this at runtime. If we can get at runtime, button had this inside of it, that's money. Now, the nice thing is, since it is code, we can just step through and just increment through the list and say, okay, First object creation, because we're going to have this object creation syntax each time, right? So inside the body, so we know inside this method, it has object creation, which is first going to be the VStack. And then we're going to have the next one. So we could just say incrementing through there. And then know exactly which object it is. All right. So what if we create a new object class just to play with this for now? Actually, what I do in comment, I want to see what I did inside the project, because inside of the state, I have a thing, I wonder if I can reuse that same data class. It won't be perfect. But inside the state manager, actually inside of view, if we go to view, whenever we start building, we have a class, and I can't remember the name of it, which is created every time a view is created. It's the binding context. I don't know. I wouldn't call it binding context. I know better than that. State manager, binding state. So we say, hey, we're constructing this view. And so we step through this. And every time we do that, it keeps track of, come on, go to declaration, jump. All right. So it goes through and does all the stuff for mappings, what's been used, what's not being used, what's still alive. And it does a view mapping of that view ID to those strings. And it just keeps going through and adding those. And if we create a new view without clearing out, every time we end a view, we clear out the current property cache and throw that in. So maybe we can do something like that. My biggest question is if we go back to program, so we have this body, which gives us identifier name. Its parent will be an object creation, so we don't care about that. And then it has an arguments list. We can't just say it's parents. Okay, we're going to try something crazy. Let's just do it. All right, so let's create a new class. And we'll do class. I hate that name. We're also going to do public syntax. Throw some fancy stuff in there. Now what we're going to do is say public list this guy. Paste that in there. Yeah, we'll leave it at that for now. All right. And for kicks, current object. I don't know if that's needed. All right, so what we'll do, trying to think what we start. So we have maybe we just start with a class. Instead of current object, I'm just trying to think how we're going to walk through this tree. So let's go back to our program to get this syntax tree to update. You know you want to. You're going to do it. Please. I need some syntax visualizer. Let's build. Maybe building will fix it. Hey, there's a raid. Thank you, Anthony Writes Code. Wow, there's a lot of you guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we are working on a source code generator to do some fancy magic data binding in C#. So what I want to do is write a source code analyzer that will generate some additional source code to tell me what was used, so I can automatically know what to listen to with iNotify property changed. So that way you don't have to write any code. I'm going to do it for you. So we can make stuff like this work, or stuff like this work, and make it automatically update the text, or do even fancier stuff to say if why is my typing Visual Studio just locked up? I just told it not to debug. Oh, it's trying to make me debug that object syntax tree. That's what's going on. And it keeps trying to do it. All right, so I can do count dot, okay, every key press, I keep getting this just-in-time debugging. Let's just keep one of these open. All right, so let me code. Let me code. It is a great idea. It actually really is. I am just debugging the IDE, which is causing a lot more problems than it's worth. Most people don't debug while they're working on it. But since I am writing something to extend the IDE, you're debugging it. All right. Count dot value is greater than 10. We're going to throw a new label in here. Oh, that syntax doesn't work here. But this does. So if count is greater than 0, new text. Oops, not quotes. So we can do something, hey, I thought it was called a spacer. Oh, I need to do this one as, now it'll work. So you can do really fancy things that say, hey, if the count's greater than 10, or if I had a new state Boolean should celebrate. And now I can do it based off if should celebrate changes, then I need to swap out all the views and do something really fancy and different. Close parentheses, so that gets happy. So I'm trying to do something that can figure out, we used should celebrate and we used count, and then how we used them, so I know what to do with this whole body and all the objects that are inside of it, how to diff the tree without having to diff the tree. Performance optimizations. And see if I can do that at compile time rather than runtime. That's the fun part. So we're trying to do some crazy stuff. And I am writing code that's going to write code for me. That's the entire idea. All right. So what we're doing is we're trying to analyze code and figure out how to pull out the things that matter. So Roslyn has a bunch of awesome analyzer stuff, and the syntax visualization tree thing I'm looking at, a syntax visualizer, actually goes through and shows me some of the stuff that's in there. So this is telling me what I have access to at compile time. Eventually we'll get to code inception to the point where I write enough code that's going to write enough code for me, and it'll keep writing more code for me. I'm not quite there yet. We're getting there. Hopefully by the end of the stream today, we'll be there. All right. So I need to make sure that we're keeping track of what step we're at along the way, because I don't care about every field that's used, because button text, I just need to know where we're at and if we're inside of a method we care about. So we might go into that code we were just looking at. Am I getting that weird debugger thing again? No, I'm not. Stop debugging. No. Oh, I've got way too many Visual Studio windows complaining at me to start debugging. Let me close a bunch of them, see if this will make my IDE start working better. All right, so what we're going to do is we have a couple different ways we've been looking at visualizing that. One is on this awesome site that was pointed out to me. So we're not writing, with this code gen, we're doing a bit more than that because this is a UI library. For one, let's start over with that. I'm writing a UI toolkit that people are going to use to write apps. So I don't want thousands of people to have to write a bunch of little stupid code. If I can do a couple things, it's going to save a problem for thousands of people. So it's not just something for me. That's a huge preface there, because that's where libraries are where this stuff really comes out and shows out a lot. So if you're working on a library, it's going to help lots and lots of people. If lots and lots of people use the library. Big caveat there. But I think people will. I think we've got a good chance with this one. All right. So we're digging through this visual tree and we're figuring out where this can go. So what I want to do is I want to write something that's going to find all of our view classes. So that's probably where we want to start with this generator stuff we're working on. Let's, instead of current object, let's change that a tad. And let's do a class. We'll say class object. And this thing will have a name. And we're going to make sure that these are make sure it's a class that we care about right now. And then this is going to have methods on it. Current object, methods. And we're just going to start with methods because that's what we have right now is the one method. And that's all we care about right now. So now that method is going to have what's used inside of it. Put an equal sign in there so that works. And let's see if we can do this, make this thing work. All right. So use name. So we're going to pump one of these things in here every time we get to it. And then we're cleared out whenever we find a class. So public, and this code may or may not work on first try. We're going to have to take a couple tries on this, I bet. All right. So what do I call that? Code or class object. We're going to call it views because we're really looking for views. And also on there, let's make sure we add that syntax node, which is, these were called class declaration syntax. All right. So what we'll have here is we're going to have a class object, current class. All right. So let's find a class, right? And we'll put what our comments say. If syntax node is class declaration syntax, CD, we're going to jump in here and we're going to do a little bit of code in here. We'll check and say if, I think from that syntax node, we can say CD dot base list dot contains, oh, it's going to be a syntax node. So any, bring in some link. No, bring in link. So this small window I have here is the code, is the syntax visualizer. What it does is you'll notice how I have this syntax node. So someone brought this up on stream, which has been great. I will relink it for you guys who just joined in. It's this guy. Syntax graph. So what it does is it allows us to view. I haven't brought up the graph, which is awesome looking, but on any class file, minus my debugger freaking out, should update, but it keeps wanting me to debug the window because it doesn't like my code. And then it shows the syntax tree of what's there, which will map down to the syntax node that's getting passed in. And I also had the web version of it running right here. And I can hopefully paste this into chat and you would see the same exact code I have. Has that awesome GUID to bring up this code. All right, so we're gonna bring in, are we using Link? So this is all being done via Roslyn, which is separate, if that's what you're asking. So I'm using a Roslyn analyzer to do all this and using the new syntax. Oh, we already have Link in, so we're good. So, come on, that's not what I wanted. Undo, wrong hotkey. Wrong hotkey. Can I not do Link on that base list? Is that not an IEnumerable? What's a base list syntax? It let me do contains. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do here, since we can't do that yet, we'll say clean up the old one. So if current class is not equal to null, and we're also going to do in here public bool is view. Maybe we can check it at this level, but I don't know if I can. We'll debug and maybe we can. So, and we're going to simplify this code. Views dot add current. Hey, I noticed IntelliCode started kicking in. All right. Else we're going to clean this thing out. Current class equals new. And what we'll do is we'll set the node equals CD. Oh. Put the semicolon in the right place. That makes a big difference. All right, so now we've got our class declaration node. So now we're going to look for anything that is the body or the method syntax. So if syntax node all right, so if it's a method declaration, we're going to add that to the current class. And we're probably going to have to jump into these object initializer stuff too. Stuff is so tricky. I'm trying to wrap my head around exactly what we're doing as we're doing it because this stuff's pretty complex. Because we're walking through this tree. If I save it, will it update this one? Because it's funny that it's working on the other one and not this one. Did it break when I added this in? I have no idea. Or is it when I added that in? It's all right. Let's... Debugger popped up. Cancel, cancel. Hey, it started working. Once I cancel enough of that stuff. All right, so this is that tree that I was talking about. So when we run this the first time, this is going to get passed into here. And then it's going to walk through each node and do on visit syntax node. So we're going to get that every single time. So with Roslyn, you can modify Roslyn, how it parses. You can add your own C# syntax by modifying Roslyn. So absolutely, yes, you can. Roslyn's super powerful. All right, so let's go back to here. See if we can get this to, oh, okay, let's cancel the debugger. Come on, you know you want to show me that tree. All right, we're just gonna debug. Closing that window. Let's go into this. Let's put a breakpoint here and see where we're at. And what we need to do is keep track of the current method as well. Because we have current object. I should name that different. Oh, right. And also, current object is not equal to null. Current classes dot methods dot add current object. Oops. Or actually, we can just, I don't know. For now, we'll just do that. Hey, thank you for the follow. Not Vukik. I'm the worst at pronunciations. I am sorry. Is that true or false? Which one? So this is saying if the current class is null and it is a view, continue. This question mark says that if it's null, say it's false. So it's just some little clever stuff. All right. So yeah, it's just saying, yeah, if it's null, say it's false, so we don't run through this. Now we need to at some point determine if this is a view and say yes. And to do that, let's just put a breakpoint in here. I don't remember where we're at. I'm getting lost. All right. And then let's put a breakpoint here. We're going to need to look for those object initializer stuff as well inside after we get to a method. All right. Oh, okay. So debugger telling it to open in this. All right. Debugger's connected. All right. So we've got our first CD. And this class declaration has the base list. Is there an easy way to just say, hey, this, oh, types. View. Okay. Let's stop this really quick because we can do this is if it is now. So we will do is view equals. Actually, we don't even need is view because we're just going to continue on if it's not a, we'll do it anyway. All right, is view is cd, oops, wrong button, cd dot types. You all saw that there was a types there, right? Let's see what that property is. Is it private? I hope not. Let's run that again. All right, debugger connect. I'm waiting for the pop-up on my, oh, I need to change the thing we're coding generating against. So it'll actually regen. All right, connect to Comet. All right, debug, continue on. All right. So, class declaration syntax, which is what we're in. Oh, is that a non-public? I didn't think it was. Oh, it's under base list types. Perfect, perfect. All right. cd.baselist.types. Oh, well, that's not going to be null, but this can be. Dot, any x dot. Oh, what is this thing? This is base type syntax. Do I have nothing on that? Come on. You know what I'm trying to type. Why are you doing this to me? X dot. Where's my autocomplete? All right. So if I can get those out, what's a base type syntax? Base type syntax has to have some properties on that thing. All right. It's got to have a name or something. Kind? Maybe it's the kind? All right, well, let's debug again because I'm lost again. Did not mute. Hold on. Let me change something so our debugger will connect in. Stop this, run. We should get this to run again, connect it to the debugger. This just-in-time debugger window pops up on my other one every time. I wish I could tell it to pop up on the same one. All right, debug. All right, so cd base list types result view. It gives me nothing useful. Come on. All right. All right. So you're saying try borrowing some helpful methods from emo. Ah, let's bring this over here. Let's see what emo's been doing. Is derived from. So then I need his symbol equality compare. That might be useful. I'd have to dig through and see how his thing works a bit more. I wonder if I'd be better doing this not in trying to parse this code and walk these trees not inside of a generator since the generators don't have good debugging yet. You think this would be super easy to do. Say, okay, we're asking for his base types, right? Base types. I should be able to say, oh, there's types. That's kind of cool. Types. And it even shows me here, it's a view. It's smart. It knows what to format those at. Simple base type is view. dot type. This is just so deep in there. Like, I love how powerful this is. But wow, why? Actually, so I'm actually thinking about this difficult, right? I wonder if I can take the current thing and I can make something smarter to walk this better. Because this shows me the members and it should also show me all the methods, right? This should have the body of some sort. Yeah, it needs some extension methods. We need to dig through what Emo has and look through that a bit more. So it tells me what the... I'm just wondering, because right now what I'm trying to do is, because it's going to walk through the whole tree anyway. Instead of doing that, what if I just say, hey, find me the classes. Now from that class, go find me all the methods. And now inside that method, do it so I'm inside of a scope. So I call this instead, rather than letting it walk the tree each time and saying, well, this is where I'm at, and stacking it up. Because the code will be a lot simpler than saying, here's the last one, append, append, append. Here's the last one, append, append. All right, back out, back out, back out. Because I'll know the scope a little bit better. So the identifier, so it has all the members, but why does it not have all the methods? So I can look at the syntax tree. This is pretty awesome though. The amount of data that is here is really, really impressive. So I can go to the opening brace. And is it going to show me what comes next? So the full span, is that actually telling me... Are the methods members? I didn't see them in there. Maybe I was just not looking close enough. Oh, it's in there. Okay. I thought I only saw the two. I only saw... Oh, I see it in the description. I didn't look very well. Because now I could send all those members in myself and look for those. And then go into the expression body myself or the body. Okay. That's pretty good. Now, the only question is, how do I tell if this thing's a stupid view or not? Like, base list is obviously where I go. I'm not seeing anything else that screams out and says views. Yeah, exactly. I don't need to follow. We can change this out and do it ourselves, but I still need to figure out how this is a view. How it knows it's a view. So I need to find the identifier name inside of that. All right. But how do I do that? How do I search and say, get me all the identifiers inside of that? All right, we'll try that. That at least gives me... What the heck? Why not? Let's go change our program. So regen. Thing's full of so many spaces now. Got so many of these. All right, so continue. His view is false. Types. All right, let's do this here. Hey, thanks for the follow, gang affiliates. All right, so let's dig in and say our equals basis dot select. Come on, autocomplete. X dot so yeah, let's see if that works. We got the cast out to get the types. We should now have a list of those things. Let's connect the debugger again. Base names, null. Of course it's null. So do I need to go to type? But then type doesn't show me that anywhere. This is so fun. Yeah, this is insane. Where's the stupid name? Two stringing it gives me view. Ship it. Ship it. Yes. At that part, I don't even need to do that. Let's now try that again. All right, continue. Current class is now a view. All right. So now what we need to do is let's comment all that crap out for now. So now let's do something to process one of these class declaration syntaxes. Oh, sorry. We want let's go CD. It's nice and small. All right. All right, so we have if it's a view. All right, so now what we're going to need to do is do some stuff to dig in and find its body stuff, right? And class is taken. I can't do that. Looks like it's not complaining. I don't know if I should leave it there. Okay. So we'll do, you know what? Why not? I like it. All right, so now we need to parse the method body stuff. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Oh, no, it's not that. I need CD. CD. Now make that thing happy. Why is this all? It's like I'm missing something. I don't know what's complaining about. Why is that? Yeah, it should be, but I thought I could get away with it. But I'm still wondering why this. Ah, that fixes everything. It should be. I thought it was working because it wasn't complaining, but it was just the parser freaking out. All right. I'm not going to use a protected thing. That's just weird. I mean, yeah. Of type method. All right. So now what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing. What do we call that? Current object. And this one is going to be method declaration syntax. Hey, thanks for the follow, Monday. How'd you choose Monday? No one likes Mondays. What's that all about? Where'd my typing go? I don't know why it's... Did I tell it to run? It's trying to debug. Stop. Stop debugging. All right. All right, so let's parse this thing. And now what we'll do dot... We are working on a code generator using the new C# source generator stuff with the Roslyn analyzer to do some very complex data binding for an MVU UI framework. Just the easy stuff, normal stuff. It's Wednesday. Where x is not equal to null. We're going to list that puppy. All right. So now we've got at least creating all of our methods. All right, return CO. And we might return null. Just that's the only reason I put it in there. So that way we can check if it has the right things we care about. So we don't care about all methods, only the ones that are specified for now. All right. So md.modifiers dot, because we're going to check and see if it has the right attribute. If it doesn't have the attribute, we don't care. All right. So this method's going to have global stuff, and then it'll also have the internal. I'm not looking forward to doing this thing. I think that's it. Might be value text. I don't know. All right. So now we're going to parse the puppy up here. And now let's comment a bunch of stuff out. If c dot is view. All right. Now let's debug this thing. See what it does. Oh, I always forget that thing pops up on the wrong window. All right, debug. All right, so we've got some methods. It has one, and its name is body. That is exactly right. Has one named body. Let's throw the constructor in there. Oh, stop. Come on, I'm not ready to debug this. Every time I do that, it's like the debugger starts to run instantly. Oops, nope, cancel. I don't know what it's doing. Yes, stop debugging. Don't save. Stop. All right, so let's see what happens when we debug it this time. Oh, and let's put some breakpoints before we continue on. I do want one. Before we move on, I want to start digging into that method. We'll write the method parsing stuff, and I also want that one for the class. So before we start digging into this, we're gonna have to look for expression bodies and also for bodies, because there can be the two different styles. And it has an attribute of body, which is what we care about. And what's the type in this thing? Attribute syntax. Attributes. Wow, is this like a never-ending loop? There it goes. Find text, attribute. We're gonna have to 2D string that thing again, I'm guessing. Name. This has a name. Thank you for giving me a name. But where's the value? I don't get that. Why give me the name and then not the actual value? I don't get it. But I do want to see what happens now with that constructor. So now that we have that constructor going on, because we're going to have to check constructors to see if you're assigning that value as well. That's all right. Laugh at me. Laugh at my pain. I'm doing this for you, David. You're the one begging for this stuff. I could just tell everyone to suck it up and use the other stuff. Use the iNotify property red, and it just works. And it's fast and efficient. All right. So where does it show me the constructor? Is that going to be considered a member? It is. That went up. Constructor. All right. So we're going to have to dig through the constructor as well. And in the body, do the same thing. Luckily, it's going to be a body syntax or a block syntax. I bet they'll be the same, to be completely honest. So I should be able to dig through the constructor or dig through the method the same way to find that body. Actually, because let's look at that one more time. I think once I dig into that, oop, not base list. Once I go into those members, if I go to the constructor and now I start digging through the constructor's body, statements, result view, one of these, assignment, if I'm assigning the body, I'm going to then go and find, I think this is where I go. Then I'm going to go to its right, and I'm going to find a lambda expression, and that lambda expression body, this is the same. This is where we're at. So I'd be able to pass, once I get to that point, I can shove that whole thing into the same exact parser thing, because that's the body, or the view build that we care about. So it's nice that the constructor and the method type will work the same. Once I get to that part, the expression body. All right, I like it. That works. So now we've got this method. We've done the constructor. We know we can reuse that constructor calls. Let's just forget about constructors for now. And let's just dig into the method parsing. And I'm going to be right back really quick. I'm going to go refill some water.
If I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer.
All right, let's dig into this. We're getting somewhere. All right. Sorry, get my windows back. All right, so let's dig through this method stuff. So, all right. In that method stuff, we're gonna have to go find the body. Actually, let's first check and say md.modifiers. What was it? It was the attribute syntax. Any All right, just want to make sure that works. Hopefully, oh, I didn't change the. Run. Debug. Oh, we did not get modifiers. Oh, right. We'd all of them. Oh, no, this one should. Did I remember that wrong? Attribute list, not modifiers. Attribute list. And it's an attribute list. Wait. It's a nested attribute list syntax inside? Come on. Y dot to string equals body. Because the first result is an attribute list syntax. We go into that, and then that has attributes. Nested. I don't like this API. Not gonna lie. I'm not liking it. No. All right, we're gonna try some extensions because this sucks. Like, legit sucks. All right, so we have a body. Now I'm gonna stop this. There has to be, I agree. Listing this crap sucks. Boom. We won't even go there if it doesn't have it. Because you're gonna have lots of members on a class, but we only care about the one. This is just fun. Oh, I just thought about one other way that people are gonna do this. They're gonna do it. Someone, somewhere. Come on, cancel. Okay, I'm gonna restart Visual Studio really quick because it's in like some weird forcing me to try and debug every key press. With the debug mode I'm stuck in from debugging the extension. So maybe one thing we can do. Oh, I didn't have developer mode turned on this machine. That's fun. All right, so someone's going to do this. Oh, I'm still stuck in that weird mode. I can't code this way with it popping up every single time. So let me. The service hub, since I installed that service hub stuff, it's not liking this. It's trying to debug the service hub because that's not valid C# syntax, which I know it's not. Let's do this. Let's see if doing this pops us back out. Let's disable the debugger for a minute. Build, restart Visual Studio after the build's complete. Close, reopen. Now I shouldn't be doing that debug.launch or the debugger.launch, so I won't be telling it to just connect like crazy. I'm hoping. It's my theory. It's gotta work, right? All right. Now let's see if I can type. All right, so void init. Someone's gonna do this. So I need to look through all methods. And if it doesn't set the body or it's not marked with the body, I don't care about it. Someone's doing that. Now, actually, I don't think I care, because if they don't do it through the constructor, maybe it won't matter, because maybe jumping through the constructor, I just need to make sure I go through each method, and if any of those methods eventually set the body, that's the body stuff. Because actually, if you have all of this, this is the one that's going to win. Or, in this case, this one wins. No one do this. Someone's going to. Yeah, I basically have to look everywhere. So I need to find a method that has the body, or I can do the visitor for body being set. You're right, David. That would work too. But I need to do the visitor within that class. That's the problem with the visitors. I don't know the scope. Well, I have to manage the scope myself. That's a great question, Alex. That's a great question. There's only two ways to set it. Two. Dos. And the reason I did it, and maybe this is wrong, maybe we ditch it. Well, the problem is events are runtime. All that's runtime. I don't want runtime. I'm trying to do this all at compile time. So here's the thing. I want to allow you to do this syntax, so you don't ever have to have this constructor stuff. All right. What if you don't do this stuff, right? You never have that. This, I want an easy way so I can make it to where you can override, but that gets things tricky. The other thing I want to allow you to do is do like in here and then say new view. That's why. So you don't have to subclass to do the body. Maybe that's wrong. Well, the other thing was searching for body just by doing the visitor method. What about this? This doesn't count. This body has to go for that view. So maybe this is stupid and we don't ever do this. I mean, that's the nice thing about building a new UI framework is we can set constraints. I wanted it to be super flexible, so I wanted to allow people to do this. The benefit of doing this is if this does some crazy data binding stuff, it can do just diff this tree down with the current data binding. It's smart enough just to recall this body, which is pretty sweet. So if you're using a variable here, like should celebrate, new text, else, new, I don't know, what's another one? Right. Now when should celebrate, it doesn't have to diff the entire thing. It only diffs this. Which I thought's kind of nice. That's why there's the 2 ways to set the body. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Am I crazy for allowing this? Should I say at that level, just make a new class and make you subclass? But that right there is the whole reason there's 2 ways. No one? No thoughts? All of you watching? Well, this goes back to if we're doing the whole visitor pattern, I need to keep track of where I'm at. All right, I've already set the body once, and now I've newed up a new view, and then I've set the body again. I can tell that because I know what the previous, I mean, that's inside the constructor of that view. Exactly. For rapid UI, it's so nice to not have to subclass. Just type right there and say body equals that. But I didn't want to force everybody to do that init stuff because let's just say you have public my view and then public my view bool hey. People are going to do this crap or want to do this stuff. Body equals no, why aren't you just doing that? Oh, it's not a right. No, I know what I typed. I didn't want to have to make people do this nonsense. I just wanted nice things. Lots and lots of nice things. That's it. I'm just trying to make it nice for everybody. That's why this exists. And the other reason, the other thing I could do is just have public virtual view body, right? But guess what? Right, here's the issue with this. Body already exists because this thing. Having a method, so then instead of having to do the attribute, you just override, which I like more than the attribute. Well, I'm explaining why there's the attribute. It has nothing to do with Xamarin history. It has to do with my history in this stupid project. Not stupid, I like the project. But it has to do with this. How do you do this syntax and this? You can't. They have to be different names. And so one is, I mean, yeah. Well, until I added this one, they were all the same thing. Except this view, this body is this view's body. But that's why the attribute exists, because naming, and we still can go to virtual, let's be honest. I can still do, and maybe this is what, oh, come on, uncomment. Maybe this is what we need. Public virtual. Right? So now you override create body. Why did lowercase both those views? This would work. And then we don't have to have the body. It's not the worst thing in the world. I just didn't like it because I didn't know what to name it. So I gave you an attribute to specify the body because I had no idea what to name it. That's 100% where that attribute came from. That's it. It also is super nice for other reasons, but yeah, not impossible. But if I did this, I know exactly what I'm looking for. We might have to go to something, but like, I just don't know what to name it. 100%, that's what it comes down to. So if any of you naming geniuses know what to name that thing, that's what it comes down to. Ah. All right. This is going to be difficult to do until this is sorted out. I've got something. I got somewhere. I think I can continue on without solving this 100%. Let's check out this link. Oh, that did not copy, right? That is nice. Okay. I might be done with this for now. I might work on this again tomorrow. I gotta see. Do I have meetings tomorrow? I have meetings tomorrow. I might not be able to. Oh, there's a training day tomorrow. All right, I'm gonna have to think some more on this because now you guys have me second guessing this. Either way, what I create before this becomes real API and the real .NET MAUI MVU stuff, we need to figure this thing out. Yes, a day of learning about source generators. Hopefully there's some stuff on there because I will definitely watch those. I don't know. I'm happy with what we've done a little bit. We've got some things figured out. I haven't taken part in any of the learning days either. I'm going to check and see what's going on. Maybe I'll live stream anyway. Maybe we're going to do our own learning day and I'll get back on tomorrow. But I need to find nicer ways of doing this. I can ditch the body, or I can look for something that has the body in it. Look for all body assignments. Looking for those nested body assignments are going to be key. Make sure we actually handle body, because technically we can still do this. That there is valid. Well, not exactly. Now that's valid. Where the body's assigned twice, but this one's for this view, this one's for the global view. So yeah, we're gonna have to count for that. Or like we have here, this body is not this body. All right, I'm going to dig through more of this. I'm going to maybe read some documentation tonight on this. Maybe we can come up with something that's not source code generator, where we just parse the same source file and we just use it using create our own Roslyn analyzer. I already have some of that code running anyway inside the common extensions. So maybe we can just pull some of that out, parse the C# code. Once it's parsed, we'll have the same syntax tree. So that way it's going to be easier to debug rather than doing this weird debug loop I'm doing. And we can write something, we can write some tests. Yeah, let's start doing some of this in a test rather than in the source code stuff. So we'll write the analyzer stuff, we'll put that in a test library, and that's our next step. And then we can just execute tests and debug tests. I like that. I like that a lot more. Maybe that's the route we'll go next. And then we'll have that file, that analyzer that will just run inside the source code generator, and it'll create that tree for us. So thanks, guys. This has been fun. Let's find someone else to raid. Who is on and hanging out? Do you guys have any recommendations? I'm going to check and see who is live from the... Yes, thanks, Seatback, for hanging out. You guys helped. You guys have made me think a lot. Let's see who is live streaming from the live coding team. See if there's anyone else. Oh, someone's doing a Kingdom Hearts stream. Wrong place. Anything you guys want to look into? Anyone you guys recommend? If you guys have recommendations of who to raid, we'll raid them. If not, I'm going to find someone really quick. Who is live? We have a view inside of our Discord that just tells me who's live right now. Where is that channel? No, I can't find it. Of course, live team. All right. So Lana Lux is doing some game dev. Sephiroth is also doing some game. Oh no, they're playing game. There's me. There's someone working on. Everyone's gaming right now. Let's watch someone build a game. Let's go raid Lana. She's building games. All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to do this. I'll be back maybe tomorrow. We'll see. All right. Thanks, guys. This has been fun. We'll keep going on this and we'll make this better. Thanks for the follow, Chris Wong.